I'm live again, woohoo! So today, as you can read by the title, we are going to try our best to decode the new NBA CBA. So I have it pulled up on my computer, and basically I'm going to read to you a section from the CBA, and I'm going to try to explain it as best as I can. I talked about this in my last live stream, that I was potentially thinking about doing something like this, but the problem is the CBA is like 700 pages and it's incredibly difficult to understand because, of course, all the legal jargon. It was written by, top lawyers, so there's a lot of crazy stuff I don't understand and I could not even explain to you, but I'm going to try my best to explain this part of the CBA that I'm going to read to you. And just to be clear before I start, everything I say probably won't be 100% accurate because this is just me trying to understand it along with you guys. Like, I am not looking anything up. I'm not going to read some kind of article to figure it out. I am literally just reading it, and from the words that I see on the screen and everything that they wrote, I'm going to try to understand and explain it to you guys as best as I can. So not a lawyer, not an expert on the CBA or the cap, anything like that. So let's try to explain this CBA and let's see if this makes sense. And maybe someone will comment and let me know how accurate, what I say is, like in terms of if I made sense and if it actually is explained properly. So this is just a fun little experiment, nothing too serious. So we're going to do the part where we talk about the salary cap and the tax aprons and stuff like that. Why? Because I feel like that is the part that most people are interested in anyway. There's a ton of things in here. If you want to read this, there's so much you can, find out from this. But let's talk about the salary cap, the tax aprons, and how they explain on how it works. So, and I'm reading word for word and then I'm explaining it. So, for each salary cap year covered by the term of this agreement, there shall be, and again, I don't own the rights to any of this. This is literally me reading from the CBA, just so I don't get any copyright or anything. I don't own this, I'm reading the CBA. 1, a minimum team salary equal to 90% of the salary cap for such salary year. So what that means is, and I think that's probably the easiest to understand, is that each year, one of the new rules that they put in is that every team has to spend at least 90% of their salary cap. So rather than teams that are tanking or teams that are, have a bunch of young players or whatever, no big contracts on their books, in years past, they wouldn't spend 90% of their salary cap necessarily. They would just save some money until they got really good and wanted and needed to pay these max players. So that's no longer a thing. You have to spend 90% of your salary cap, which also makes it harder to get free agents because you may sign somebody who you're just signing so you don't get, this penalty for not having 90%. And then that off season, you actually want to go out and get this max player and you can't because you have somebody else under contract. So it makes contracts trickier and more complicated. And now front offices have to be really strategic with who they give their money to because it could cost them that off season. So that's part 1. Like I said, that's probably the easiest part to understand. Here's part 2. A tax level equal to 121.5% of the salary cap for such salary cap year. Okay? So I'll explain how that relates in a second. So now we're going to talk about the first apron level and the second apron level. The moment everyone's been waiting for, right? Okay. So this, for example, this is the example they're giving right now. For the 2023-24, so last year, salary cap year, the first apron level shall equal the sum of the tax level for the 2023-2024 year and $6.716 million multiplied by a fraction the numerator, which is in a fraction, the numerator is the top number, of which is the average of the salary cap for the 2022-2023 season, because they take the year prior, right? To have an average. And then, and the salary cap for the 2023-2024 cap year. So they're combining the two. And the denominator of which is the salary cap year in this scenario for the 2022-2023 season. So basically what that means is we're talking about last year's season in this scenario. The denominator of the fraction is going to be the year prior. So let's say we're in the 2023-2024 season. I know we're next year, but let's pretend we're last year, right? The denominator of the fraction would be the year before, the season that already happened. That's the denominator. And then the numerator is what I said, the average of the 2022 season that already happened in this scenario and the 2023 season that did not happen, the average of that salary cap. Does that make sense? Okay. Like I said, I'm trying my best. For each subsequent salary cap year, which means each year following this one, because the CBA was introduced last year, for each salary cap year after the 2023-2024 season, the first apron, sorry, I lost my place. The first apron level shall equal the first apron level for the 2023-2024, which is the year we just calculated, salary cap year multiplied by a fraction that the numerator, again, the top number of a fraction, of which is the salary cap applicable for the salary cap year, and the denominator of which is the salary cap for the 2023-2024 salary cap year. So what that means is the next year, which is this season, right? 2024-2025. Instead of combining the 2 years prior, as they did for the 2023-2024 season for the numerator, you would just be taking the salary cap that is projected for the 2024-2025 season, again, this is how I understand it, divided by the 2023-2024 salary cap. So you take the year prior, which was last year, as the denominator, and the year that is happening, that is coming up, is the numerator of the fraction, okay? So that's how they are determining, the first apron, right? Which is also multiplied by 6.716 million. Don't forget that. Okay, so that's that right there. And then, like I said, this is complicated. I'm trying my best to understand. I hope you guys like math, because this is math here. For the 2023-2024, again, we're going back because this is the example they gave for last season. Now we're doing the second tax apron. This equals the sum of the tax level for the 2023-2024 season and 17.5 million. For each subsequent, again, that means for each season following, next year, the second apron level shall equal the second apron level for the 2023-2024 season. So everything is calculated based on last season because that's when they introduced it. So all the numbers are a lot easier, well, now for them to calculate because they already calculated them last season. Last season for, the people who were doing all these, accounting, all this accounting and stuff, probably was a nightmare for them because they had to basically input and create the new numbers based on the new rules. Now that they have a common number, for example, as you keep seeing, the number that they got last year was the denominator for this year of the tax apron of the first level. The first apron level, rather. So, it's a little less complicated for the accounting part for them because they already have some numbers to work with from last year. But anyway, the point is, for each following salary cap year, the second apron level shall equal the second apron level for the 2023-2024 salary cap year multiplied by a fraction, again a fraction, the numerator of which is the salary cap for the applicable salary cap year. And by the way, that means, when it says applicable salary cap year, that means the year that is happening. So we are in the 2024-2025 season, so that is the year that you would be using if you were calculating the second tax apron this year. Applicable salary cap year means the year, like this year, the year that it's happening. And then the denominator is the same thing as the first tax apron, similar but different numbers, the 2023-2024 salary cap. So the denominator stays the same. It is last year's number, whatever it is, okay? I hope that makes sense. Okay, so now they give an example, like with actual numbers. So now let's get to the numbers part. Ooh, fun. All right, so let's go here. So this is what they say. And now I'll try to explain it with the numbers that they gave you, so now it might make more sense. For example, assume, and one more time just to clarify, this is the CBA. I don't own the rights to any of this. I didn't write any of this. This is the CBA that is written out. It is published online. Anybody can read it. So I don't own this. Not a cap expert, not a lawyer, just reading and interpreting. Okay? Okay, now, for example, assume the salary cap for the 2023-2024 salary cap year is $134 million, okay? For the 2024-2025 salary cap year, it is $140 million. So as you can see, for this season, the salary cap is higher, right? And then for the 2025-2026, the salary cap is $147.735. So every year it's going up. And that is based on, that there's potentially no adjustments that can happen due to certain things happening. I don't know if we're going to get to the adjustments that could happen here or there, because this is already, complicated as it is. And I'm trying my best to explain it well, and I don't want to confuse you guys either. But just know there can be, everything can basically be adjusted based on little things happening. So that's why it's also so complicated. It's no set in stone. Most of these things are not set. But anyway, so for the 2023-2024 year, again, they keep using last year as an example because that is when the CBA was released. So the tax level would be 162.81. We're talking millions of dollars, by the way. So if you remember I said earlier 121.5% that we were going to talk about why that was important later for the tax aprons and stuff like that, for the tax levels? Well, this is where that number comes in. The $134 million, which is the salary cap for last year, gets multiplied by that 121.5%, which gets you to that 162.81 million, which makes it the tax level. Does that make sense? Okay. Now, the first apron level, so now we're getting to the aprons, the fun part. The first apron level would be 169.807 million, which is 162.81 million, the tax level we just discussed, plus an amount equal to that 6.716 million that I discussed earlier. That was multiplied by a fraction. Here we go again with the numerator of which is 128.828 million, because this is basically what I told you before, but now we have the numbers for it. So it's the same thing, but just with numbers now. Which was the average of the 2022-2023 salary cap season, and 123.655, which was the 2023-2024 salary cap season. Sorry, there's a lot of numbers here. And the denominator of which is 123. Oh, excuse me, I read that wrong. I'm sorry, I messed that up. Let me do that again. So the 162.81 million, like I said, plus the 6.176 million. Okay, that's fine. Now, this is where I messed it up. Multiply by a fraction. Okay. The 128.828 is the average of the 2022-2023 salary cap and the 2023-2024 salary cap, which I told you, like, in the subsequent years, you're not going to have to keep doing the years prior, but for the first year they did, so that's why there's multiple numbers here. So the average number is 128.828. Don't worry about the other numbers I said. It's not relevant. And the denominator is 123.655, right? Okay. And that is the salary cap average for 2022-2023. So basically, I took that 123 number I just said was combined with the 134 from the last year's salary cap season, and that's how they got the 128. But that's why I said the other numbers weren't relevant, because I was just reading numbers. So it's 128 over 123 and change, right? Okay. Now, the second tax apron would be 180.31 million, which is the 162.81 that we calculated earlier, which is the number, the tax level we calculated earlier from the 134 multiplied by the 121.5%, plus the 17.5 million that we discussed earlier is the rule. For the second tax apron, they add that 17.5 million. So that is how they got the numbers for the first and second tax apron last season. And then there are numbers for every season prior. I'm not going to go through all the numbers, but basically you calculate it the same way, but just add in, different numbers for every season, right? Okay. I hope that made sense. I think I did a pretty good job there. There was one other thing I wanted to read on this, but it is very lengthy and getting complicated. Let me see. Oh, I also wanted to explain what BRI is, because I don't know if everybody knows that. Someone said, first time here, what are we discussing today? We are decoding the CBA. Fun. Math, legal jargon, all the fun stuff everybody loves, right? So that's what we're doing. I'm trying my best to explain it. Oh yeah, okay. BRI. I don't know if everybody knows what BRI is, but BRI is basketball-related income. And why that's important is, if I do a part 2 to this, trying my best to explain, the CBA, BRI does come up, and I want you to know what that is. So that way, like, if we discuss it in the future, you'll understand what that means. So BRI is called, basically, basketball-related income. So what falls under the category of basketball-related income would be like ticket sales, merchandising that is like approved. Approved is not the right word, but like certain merchandising that's like, qualified. What else would be qualified as basketball-related income? Concessions, I think, is also part of that, like stuff like that. And then things that are not basketball-related income would be like revenue sharing, fines, expansion. I don't know exactly. I don't really get the expansion thing, but like I guess it means like if they have another expansion, then like expansion fees. Like I didn't really get that part. Like I didn't get that. Maybe I have to read that more. Maybe I didn't understand what they were saying. But basically, basketball-related income is things like I said, things that make sense, like ticket sales, like broadcasting deals, like things that are like, okay, they make money off of that. They made a direct sale, a direct thing. But like, for example, revenue sharing, that is not basketball-related income. That makes sense because it's not, it's, I don't really know how to explain it, but I hope you understand. That was a terrible, terrible explanation. I'm so sorry. But like, okay, fines, that makes more sense. I can explain that better. Like a fine is not income because the player already made that money. Let's say someone gets fined $25,000. You didn't make extra money. Like that player got paid that money. They just paid you, right? Like it's not like additional income you made. It was income that was already circulating and going to be paid either way. Does that make sense? Like, either the player was going to get it or I guess you got it, but like, it wasn't like a bonus. You know what I'm saying? So that's the best way I can explain that. So that is important because if I do a part 2, like I said, you're going to need to know that, because the part that I'm looking at right now, which I did kind of want to explain on here, talks about BRI, but like this is lengthy to get to this next part because it's a little complicated and I'm struggling to understand a piece of it as well. And like, I'm trying to at least explain things that I have a somewhat idea of what I'm saying, because there are some things in here that like I'm never going to get on here and talk about and explain because I have no idea what it even means. And I'm just gonna be honest, I'm not gonna do that because I can't even explain it at all. But this that I just explained, it makes sense. Like, it's math, I can read it, it's like words I understand. So should I try the next part? All right, let me try starting it, and if I get a little confused, I'm gonna just end it and then try to go figure it out and maybe do it next time. Okay. So this is the next part. For each salary cap year, beginning with the 2023-2024 salary cap year, in the event that there is an overage amount, which is defined in section 12A 20 below, for such salary cap that exceeds 6% of total salaries and benefits, then the salary cap, minimum team salary, tax level, first apron level, and second apron level for the subsequent salary cap year, which again means the next year, as calculated with the, section it says, shall be reduced by an amount calculated as followed. So this is why it gets complicated. There's like 10 steps here. Step 1, subtract 6% of total salaries and benefits from the overage amount. So I think that's pretty easy. Like, I don't think I need to explain what that means. Like, I think people can understand that. Step 2, if projected BRI, which I just explained to you, that's why you needed to know it. If BRI for the subsequent salary cap year does not exceed BRI for the salary cap year by more than 8% of BRI for the salary cap year, or the overage amount above that was described, whatever it is, exceeds 9% of total salaries and benefits, then divide the results of see how it gets really complicated here? Then divide the results of step 1 by the number of teams in the NBA during the subsequent salary cap year, other than expansion teams, in their first 2 salary cap years in the NBA. Like, I'm not even done with step 2. Do you see how crazy this is? And then the result of this calculation is the amount of the reduction in each salary cap, tax level, first apron, second apron. No further steps are required. So I think I'm actually going to stop there because that was a mouthful, and I actually do understand what they just said and I could explain that, but like, I think that's for another live stream if you guys enjoyed this, if you want to see more. So I hope you guys liked me explaining the salary cap here, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye. Hope you guys like math, and I hope I did a good job. Bye. But I didn't even, thank you, Carson. It popped up on my screen while I was trying to like click out. Thank you, Carson, for the gift. You sent 6 GGs. Thank you, Carson. I appreciate it. You got me right before I was about to go off live. Thank you so much. Bye.